Have you ever met someone who made you completely rethink what's possible? Today, we're talking about a man who did just that, not with grand speeches, but with a piano, a conversation, and an unbelievable amount of courage. This is the story of Daryl Davis, the black musician who has single-handedly convinced over 200 members of the Ku Klux Klan to leave the organization. Daryl's story begins in a way that sets the stage for his extraordinary life. Born in Chicago in 1958, he was the son of a U.S. Foreign Service officer. This meant his childhood was spent all over the world, living in and attending international schools in various African countries. In these multicultural environments, race wasn't a defining line. He was just another kid among kids from all corners of the globe. But when his family returned to the United States in 1968, settling in Belmont, Massachusetts, Daryl faced a harsh new reality. He was just 10 years old and had joined an all-white Cub Scout troop. During a parade, he was carrying the American flag when suddenly he was pelted with rocks, bottles, and cans by white spectators. His scout leaders had to form a protective circle around him. When his parents explained that these people hated him simply because of the color of his skin, Daryl couldn't comprehend it. How could someone hate you if they don't even know you? That question, born from a painful and confusing experience, would become the driving force of his entire life. Music became Daryl's passion and his profession. He's a phenomenal boogie-woogie and rock roll pianist, and his talent brought him into the orbits of legends. He's played with Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and B.B. King. It was his music that unexpectedly opened the door to his life's mission. In 1983, Daryl was playing a gig with his band at a place called the Silver Dollar Lounge in Maryland. It was an all-white country music bar, and after a set, a white man approached him. The man was amazed. He said it was the first time he'd ever heard a black man play piano like Jerry Lee Lewis. Daryl, with a smile, explained that Jerry Lee Lewis learned his style from black blues and boogie-woogie pianists. The man was skeptical but intrigued. He bought Daryl a drink. They talked, and he invited Daryl to sit with him and his friends. As the conversation continued, the man made a startling confession. He was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Daryl initially thought it was a joke. A Klansman buying him a drink? It seemed impossible, but the man was serious. He even gave Daryl his phone number and told him to call any time he was back in town. This encounter lit a fire in Daryl's mind. That childhood question returned with a vengeance. How can you hate me when you don't even know me? Now he had a chance to find an answer, straight from the source. So Daryl decided to do something most people would consider unthinkable. He started actively seeking out and meeting with Klan members. His goal wasn't to fight or to preach. It was simply to understand. He wanted to sit down face to face and ask his question. His first major interview was with Roger Kelly, who was the Grand Dragon or state leader of the KKK in Maryland. Arranging the meeting was a challenge. Daryl had his secretary, who was white, set it up without revealing his race. When Daryl walked into the motel room for the meeting, Kelly and his armed bodyguard were visibly shocked. There was a tense silence. To break the ice, Daryl noticed a Bible on the table and started a conversation about faith. The initial tension slowly melted away as they talked. They didn't agree on much, but they were communicating. Daryl didn't go in with aggression. He went in with curiosity and respect. He listened to Kelly's beliefs, however hateful they were, and in return, he shared his own experiences and perspectives. He treated Kelly not as a monster, but as a human being. This became Daryl's method. He would meet with Klansmen, imperial wizards, and grand dragons all over the country. He'd often meet them in their homes, sharing meals with their families. He would challenge their ideology not with anger, but with logic and friendship. He'd ask them simple questions they often couldn't answer. For example, When they'd claim that black people have a smaller brain, he'd point to his own head and ask, "So you're telling me that my brain is smaller than yours?" He discovered that the foundation of their hatred was often ignorance. Many of these Klan members had never had a meaningful conversation with a black person. Their beliefs were built on stereotypes and misinformation passed down through generations or absorbed from their insular communities. Daryl's very presence, his intelligence, his kindness, and his willingness to listen shattered those stereotypes. One by one, something incredible started to happen. As Daryl formed genuine friendships with these men, they began to question their own beliefs. They saw that the real Daryl Davis didn't match the caricature they had been taught to hate. The cognitive dissonance became too much to bear, and so they decided to leave the Klan. When they would quit, many of them would give Daryl their robes and hoods as a symbol of their transformation. Over the years, he has collected dozens of them. He doesn't see them as trophies of victory, but as artifacts of history, proof that change is possible. Proof that hate can be overcome not by more hate, but by communication and understanding. Think about Roger Kelly, that first Klan leader Daryl interviewed. Their conversations continued for years. Eventually, Roger Kelly not only quit the Klan, but when he stepped down as Grand Dragon, he asked Daryl Davis to be his daughter's godfather. He's put himself in incredibly dangerous situations, walking into the lion's den time and time again. He always comes prepared. He knows how to defend himself, and he's always aware of his surroundings. But he believes the potential reward, changing a heart and a mind, is worth the risk. His work has also faced criticism, even from within the black community. Some argue that he is legitimizing hate groups by giving them a platform, or that he's putting himself in harm's way for people who don't deserve his time or empathy. They believe that fighting racism requires a more confrontational, systemic approach, not one-on-one conversations. Daryl understands this criticism, but he stands by his methods. He says, "While you're out there protesting, I'm in their homes, and they're leaving the Klan. We are working toward the same goal, just taking different routes." He believes that while systemic change is crucial, individual change is where it begins. You can legislate against discrimination, but you can't legislate against ignorance. You have to change the heart and mind. His philosophy is simple but profound. When two enemies are talking, they're not fighting. He stresses the importance of dialogue. It's easy to hate a faceless enemy or a stereotype. It's much harder to hate someone you've shared a meal with, someone whose family you've met, someone you know as an individual. Daryl Davis wrote a book about his experiences called Clandestine Relationships: A Black Man's Odyssey in the Ku Klux Klan. He's been the subject of documentaries, like Accidental Courtesy, and he travels the world giving lectures, sharing his story, and spreading his message of communication. He's not just a musician or an activist. He's a bridge builder. In a world that feels more polarized than ever, where people retreat into their own echo chambers and demonize those who disagree, Daryl's story offers a radical alternative. It's a story about the power of listening, the courage to engage with those we fear or despise, and the incredible capacity for human beings to change. So the next time you find yourself in a disagreement, whether online or in person, think of Daryl Davis. Think about that question he asked as a 10-year-old boy. Instead of leading with anger, maybe we can lead with curiosity. Maybe, just maybe, a simple conversation can be the most powerful weapon we have. Daryl's journey shows us that ignorance, when confronted with knowledge and humanity, can be dismantled. It's a slow, difficult, and often dangerous process, but his collection of over 200 surrendered Klan robes proves that it's a process that works. His life is a powerful reminder that sometimes the most revolutionary act is to simply sit down and talk. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please give this video a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories about incredible people changing the world.